Welcome to Frailing Live, me Banjo Jen. That was Banjo Pickin Girl, little verse there. I've had a request for this tune, so I thought I would try and do a little run through of it. It's a great tune and I really enjoy it. It's one that I play a lot at the start of my shows to get my fingers warmed up and to get me in the groove. But I also realised that I've never really broken down how I play it. It's one of those where I just listen to a lot of different versions and stuff, whatever I could find, and then just sort of worked out my own little pattern for it, putting in like hammer-ons and little slides and stuff. So I think that's something that you could maybe play about with yourself as well. But I'll run through a few bits to get you going. So if you don't know the words, it's just going round this world, baby mine. Oh, I'm going round this world, baby mine. Oh, I'm going round this world, I'm a banjo picking girl. Going round this world, baby mine. There's loads of verses. Going Tennessee, baby mine. Yes, I'll go to Tennessee, baby mine. Oh, I'll go to Tennessee, don't you try to follow me. I'm going Tennessee, baby mine, etc. It goes on and on and on like that, round and round. So it is a great tune, but I always think the best place to start with a song or a tune is just the chords. That's all you need, really. You can play it just with the chords, and then you can work out what fiddly bits you want to put in. So Banjo Pickin Girl, I'm playing it in G. I would usually capo it and play it in A. That's why I'm struggling to sing it a little bit because it's a bit low for me in G. But we'll play it in G to save capoing up and everything. So your first bit is just G. Down round this world, baby mine. Then you go up to your C. Going round this world, baby mine. Back to the G. Up to the C again. Going round this world, I'm a banjo picking. To the E minor, girl. Going round this world, baby mine. So there's a quick D before the end, okay, and the rest of that bit's in G. So that's your basic chord structure, so you can play it through just like that, you know, just kind of get used to the shape of the song. Once you know the shape, you can start putting stuff in. So that first verse obviously stays on, first line stays on G for a while. Going round this world, baby mine. So you don't really just want to be doing strike, strum, thumb all the way through. It's a bit boring. So I always start that one with a slide because it takes you to the note that you're looking for, going, which is a nice little slide always on that third string, second to the fourth fret, going round, and then I sort of play it while it's still fretted. So slide, strum, thumb, hit that string again, and then instead of a strum thumb, I actually do another quarter note just with my finger hitting that first string, because that's kind of the note of the tune. So going around this, and then I do a couple of hammer-ons, I think. Yeah, on that third string again at the second fret. So it's like a hammer-on, strum thumb, da, 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 and then I pull that off to give you again the sort of note of the melody, strum thumb, and then finish it off with a bass. I always finish those sort of G lines with that little hammer on the bass string. So that gives you a slide, da, da. That's just open on the first, hammer on, pull off, strum thumb, hammer on the bass, and end on that middle G just open, slide, and then that same note up to the first string, hammer on, pull off, strum thumb, hammer on. So the only thing weird about what I do in that verse is that I sort of do that single note instead of the sort of strum. So that's something I've not really covered in these tutorials yet, where we've been going one and a, two and a. and maybe a hammer on, as you know, in between the one and the strum. But you can just, you know, instead of a strum, you might just want to hit a single string sometimes where that bit of the pattern comes in, where the strum usually would be. It might be that you just hit another quarter note, just another string, and that's what I'm doing in that verse. All the rest of the time I'm still doing the little strum in between as the normal pattern. So that's your sort of first bit in G. It's got a couple just finishing off at the end there, just normal. Then you go up to the C, and then that first string's gonna give you the melody note. So I would do maybe a little hammer on to jazz it up. Around this world, baby. And a little pull off would also give you that. So quite often I'll find that I'll pull away from a chord which gives you that note ringing out. So sometimes you don't actually have to hit it on the string, but you let it ring out. So C, 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 never broken this down slowly. Yeah, I'd probably do a little hammer on. So a little hammer on the second string. So that kind of note that forms part of your C-shaped chord, I just do a little hammer on with that index finger, and then the first string just as a little in-between bit. Then you go back to the C, and then into the E minor. You can just obviously do a normal strum thumb. Keep it simple if you want. I do a couple of little slides, very fast ones. They're like almost brushes along the string. So I go from the second string, first fret, up to the third, and then the third string, second to fourth. So it's those little G slides. So into the E minor. And I'd hammer on the E minor as well, on that bass string. Then I'd do that little slide second to fourth again on the third string. So it kind of finishes in the G, a bit like how we started it in the G. Little slide, and then a couple of hammer-ons on that third string, second fret. So I hope that kind of makes sense. Like I said, I've never really broken this down. It feels natural to me to put those little hammer-ons and pull-offs in, but as long as you know what chord you're in, you can kind of work those out, because I'm not really putting any, you know, extra things in that aren't in the chord really. So like that last bit, I'm not actually playing the D, okay, so if you were just running through it with the chords, you'd play a D or a power D, the two-fingered D, just before the end there, like as the little finishing bit of the phrase. But I'm just hammering on that third string second fret, which is giving me that A note from the D chord. So I don't play a full D if I'm just kind of running through it, doing a bit of melody like that. I'd just... So sometimes you can do this in tunes, you know, you can just use one of the notes from the chord rather than playing the whole chord. It might be that you're just picking out that particular note that kind of works with the melody. So in total there, we've got a sort of slide, hammer on, hammer on the bass, up to the C, that gives you a nice kind of verse that's got like those peppery bits in, those sort of extra hammer-ons and things, and just play around with that, because you might sort of put them in slightly different ways to me. Decide, you know, you might use a different finger in the chord shape or whatever, but I think that's mainly how I would play it. So I actually play that last line just the same as I play the first line when we're in G. Slide, first string, hammer on, hammer on, hammer on the bass. So there you go, and you can just do that over and over. Obviously it gets a bit boring if you just do exactly the same thing over and over. So you might work out different ways to kind of put fiddly bits in those same kind of chord structures. So for example, if I was doing an instrumental, I might do slide on that second string from the first to the third, and then a little pull off, a couple of pull offs on that first string second fret. I think that's what I do on the record. So I do have a recording of this, which I will put a link to at the end of this video. Word of warning, if you're just learning it, it's pretty fast, the recording, but at least it's something you can maybe work your way up to playing along with. Yeah, it's in A, so you would have to capo it to play along with it and make it in the same key. But in the first instrumental, I think I do that slide, pull off, and then it goes to the C, of course, and this time I think I hammer on with my index finger on that second string, and then a little slide on the third string, and then back to the C. Can't remember exactly what I do there, but there's another little slide on that third string down into the E minor, and then you can just finish it off like you finished the other one. But it just gives it that little different flavour as a bit of an instrumental. So it is exactly the same structure. I'm just deciding to put the sort of slides and hammer-ons in slightly different places. But basically, if you're playing in G, so if that part of what you're playing is the G chord, the slide from the second to fourth on the third string, or the first to the third on the second string, they're always going to work in G. They're your sort of G slides, okay? And obviously in C, in the first time round, I was playing a lot on that first string, but you know, because I was trying to pick out the melody a bit, whereas that time I was just going, you know, on the index finger on the second string. So you do just sort of play around with it a little bit with that structure of chords and put in those bits. I think on the second instrumental in the recording, I go up to this C, the sort of 5th fret. So you can kind of do a little, with your little finger, go up to the 7th fret. So you hit the string and then pull it off. A little bit tricky. Yeah, so the C, sorry, I was just working that out. So the C comes obviously not at the start of the verse, it's when the normal C comes. I was just trying to remember how I do the G part in the next instrumental. I think I do that. So I slide from the 2nd to the 5th fret like you would in Cripple Creek. And then you go up to, what would that be? The 9th fret on that 1st string. So you can kind of go 9, 7, 5. Yeah, so again, I kind of put notes in occasionally rather than the strum. And then a little slide to finish the G off. So back where you started, 2nd to 5th. Then I do that C I was mentioning, the bar chord, C. Little hammer on the 1st string, 2nd fret, and then back up to that C. E minor. So this time on the E minor I'm kind of focusing on that 1st string because we've been playing everything pretty high notes on that 1st string. And then to finish that G off, I think go back to that 1st string. Yeah, don't think I go quite as high up on that one on the recording. But yeah, C. Yeah, that's what I do. So there's another little instrumental you can do. There's also a verse where it quietens right down on my version. So rather than doing all that fancy stuff, it goes, oh, I'll go to Chattanooga, baby mine. Yes, I heard of Chattanooga, baby mine. Oh, I heard of Chattanooga, I'm from there on to Cuba. Oh, I'll find my way to Cuba, baby mine. So that one I would just, what you kind of call vamping, as if you were like backing up a fiddle player or a guitar player, you might do this. So you kind of hit your chords. I'm doing a closed G, so like the F-shaped chord up on the G. So I'd go, oh, I'm going to Chattanooga, baby. And this isn't really frailing, this is kind of vamping, so it's a bit hard to describe, but I'm sort of, imagine you're doing your strike and your strum part of your pattern, and when I do my strum I'm kind of lifting these fingers off slightly to mute the strings so it doesn't ring out. It kind of mutes it a little bit, and then you can kind of do that in C a little bit as well, and your G up there, E minor. And then this time I would do the actual D-shaped chord, G, D, G, because that verse I'm just kind of doing the chord shapes. Yeah, so that's another little version. So I think that crops up in the Chattanooga verse in my recording. So I hope that kind of helps with a few different options for that tune and for that song. Have a listen through to the recording. You'll hear kind of, now you've seen what I do roughly, hopefully you can kind of picture that when you hear the recording. I'm sorry that it's not kind of tabbed out and stuff. I don't do tabs at all. So you know, this is how I do it, and it's really quite hard to break every little single note down because it's very much a case of playing what comes naturally, and you'll get to that point. It might not feel like that at the start, but you will, you know, start with those chords, get the structure, get the pattern, and then try putting in some of those little slides and hammer-ons and just work your way up. that gives you plenty to be going on with, I think. And yeah, have fun with it. Hope you enjoy it. It's a great tune, great tune. See you next time.